And welcome to another episode of Police Box Paradox. I am Wes. I am here with my compatriot in Doctor Who isms and Whovianism, and I'm on cold medicine, so I might say some weird stuff. There's Michael.
Yeah! Oh,
We're back, and we're live on the interwebs, and it's really happening. If you download this in iTunes, thank you so much because you
after
really
what, a
want us.
7 month hiatus?
I've got stuff going on. What are you,
You a busy
Marley?
man.
What are you doing? My dog is over here. Don't make me nervous while we're on the thing. Marley's scaring me right now. Anyway, we're back. We've just watched the Christmas special. The Time of the Doctor. Is it the Time of the Doctor or just Time of the Doctor?
Um,
It's one. I don't know. It's either one.
one.
Anyway,
It's one or
let,
the other.
here's let's bring some people up to speed in case they don't know who we are. We are just a couple of Doctor Who fans in Kentucky, of all places. We've been watching the show since it's come back. I don't believe I would say either of us are experts on past Doctor Who and the old school classic episodes, but we do enjoy everything that we have seen. We try to keep a fairly positive take on this because we like the show and don't see a need in just complaining and whining about something. So if we see something we don't like, we'll say it. But for the most part, we just enjoy Doctor Who, and hopefully you do too, and that's why you're listening. We are available through a website that Michael runs, which is haveageekasm.com, correct? That's the new
Yes,
address?
that's the
Um,
link. Yeah.
yeah, and we operate through there. You can also find it by going to policeboxparadox.com, and it will get you into a subsection of the site where it's all Doctor Who news. But he has a lot of great news on comic books and everything geekery and nerdish that you might want to check out. Um, we love to interact with our listeners. You can check us out on Twitter at PoliceBXParadox. We're on Facebook, Google Plus, all those at PoliceBox Paradox. Just search and you'll find us. The links are on PoliceBoxParadox.com. We look forward to have emails. TARDIS at TPHpod.net. Actually, you might be able to do TARDIS at PoliceBoxParadox.com now too, and we'll get that. So please feel free to send questions if you're watching live. I have no idea how this works, but we have a live Q&A thing in here. It's a app built into Google Hangouts, which is where we record these, so you can actually watch what we're doing while we're doing it. And I'm not saying it's pretty; it's just there. But if you've got questions, send them on there. I'm gonna try to keep up with Twitter, but I'm in a weird spot that I'm usually not when I'm recording, so it's gonna be hard to keep up with everything. Um,
I was about to say,
and
I
if
thought I saw something. Somebody said the Q&A looked amazing, but I've lost it. So
that may have been me because I said it looked amazing.
just a second ago.
Yeah, I tweeted it out because I was
Oh,
excited about it.
someone might have favorited it then. So
Then I'm glad I favored it, and hopefully they'll ask some questions. Since what we generally do is we will try to do a live podcast immediately after Doctor Who airs in America. Usually we have some screener versions, and we have seen it by then. So we're ready for the show to record right after and good to go. We try to do some off-season stuff, but things are tough. So we actually, just due to scheduling conflicts, didn't get to do a 50th anniversary. So we're going to talk about that, and I guess we'll talk a little bit about Adventure in Space and Time. What order do you want to go in? Because I'm fresh off of two viewings of the Christmas episode. Do we want to start there and go back? Do we want to jump back and hit the 50th? We can do Adventure Space and Time at the end because it doesn't really
let's
connect.
hit the newest first because
Okay,
technically you
because
can work back to it. I think
yeah.
so.
So we just got done watching Time of the Doctor, which I've watched it twice. As soon as it went off, or as soon as we got done watching it here with the family, that's about the time it came on because we just got back from Christmas festivities, and so I sat and watched it again. And I'm gonna start this, and I'm gonna say this because if I can get it on the record now, maybe I'll have to stick to it. This quite possibly could be my favorite episode of Doctor Who I've ever seen, and that's a bold statement. And I
It
realize
is.
I'm fresh off of emotion, and I'm not gonna lie. I tweeted it, and I'll tell it to anybody who wants to ask. I cried like a baby both times I've watched this. It I think this is by far Matt Smith's finest moment in acting. I
Oh,
think
it is definitely.
this is one of Stephen Moffat's best. I'm assuming he wrote this episode. I would think that surely he wrote Matt Smith's
While
exit.
you
Maybe
talk, I
I'm
will
wrong.
look.
Okay, the writing, everything on this episode was so well done. And I've always been someone who has a stickler and an issue with the Christmas episodes in general, even though I do love the Christmas episodes. To me, sometimes the Christmas element seems forced.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they've shoehorned it in, and it feels out of like to me when Eccleston regenerated and we had our first David Tennant episode. I thought it was an awkward episode because, well, one, he wasn't a part of a lot of the episode until the end, but it just seemed like they were forcing Christmas. They were like, it's a Christmas. You got to remember it's Christmas.
Yeah.
The town being called Christmas, and just the simple line of, why can an island be called Easter, wiped all that away from me. It was weird, but it really, that worked. There's so much I would like to talk about in this episode, but I mean, I think there was more growth in the character of the Doctor in this episode than we've ever seen, and maybe even in seasons worth. This is, it's monumental in who he is. We've seen, I don't know, I'm sure someone is out there with a calculator doing the math on this. He was in Christmas for like 500-600 years, right? Am I crazy with that?
Well, he was,
That's
what
a-
was it, 300 when Claire came back the first time, and then
Right. And he aged drastically
yeah,
between the next one. So to me, that said there was at least another 200-300 at least. Him standing his ground that long and staying put, especially now. I know we've had doctors who have stayed in one place and were forced to stay, were TARDISless and stuck on America. But Matt Smith is the is that a word? Roamingist? He's a roamingest doctor we've ever had in my mind. Like he is I've always referred to him as like the infant of the universe. He has those childlike
he'll
toddler
go off
eyes
on
that
his
sees,
own. Just
yeah, just it's a wide open adventure, and he is amazed as much by a molecule as he is snow, as he is, and he just everything's amazing to him. And for him to sit still and continuously battle and battle, like to me, that could have turned him into the War Doctor again. Like that kind of just constant beating that he is taking. I'm telling you, this was such a well done episode. I'm not going to say I dislike the 50th because I don't. I love the 50th. But it was so much more epic in scope in telling the Doctor story than even they could get done in the 50th. So where do you stand on this episode, since I've pretty much just put it all out there and said this is my episode?
what you said.
I mean, am I crazy? Was it not like...
And I will say this. I made the mistake of looking up IMDb to see if it showed who wrote it real quick. And there's people that don't like it.
Really?
Oh, big time.
All right.
I closed it.
Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe
No,
I'll watch this again in a month and I'll be like, this isn't as good as I thought. Because it was a very like I laughed. Stephen Moffat flat out said that he thought that Matt Smith's exit was more emotional than Tennant's. And I thought, whatever. That can't happen. That's not what we do. It either it was or it was dead on. I mean, it was, and I like David Tennant more than I do Matt Smith. I feel I identify with his Doctor more. But this was so, everything was well done to the point where he gave the nod. It means like in the show, there is absolutely no need for him to say, "I'll remember every line." He's living his life. There's no lines.
Yeah.
So like that is a Matt Smith moment. And it's to me that rang like Tennant's "I Don't Want to Go."
Yep.
It was beautiful and perfect. And I saw something earlier this week that said that somebody's surprise was showing up, and I refused to look at it, and I stayed off the internet because I didn't want it to be spoiled. And I wish I didn't know someone was coming, because as soon as I saw Young Amelia, I thought, damn it, now I know it's happening. But it was so beautiful when it happened that I didn't care. I mean, it was
Well,
just
see,
so good.
I'll admit, I mean, I knew it never said who was coming, but obviously I posted it on the site and everything else. When they showed the young Amelia, I figured that's what it was. I wasn't expecting the next reveal that came from that.
See, but they didn't show young Amelia. I mean, they showed someone who's
It
supposed to
was
be, but it's not the
obviously,
same
yeah, it
girl.
was obviously it wasn't the
Because that
same.
girl's older now, and she's at that age where she's probably looks 20 years older now, just in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
But like, it was. Oh, I loved it so much. I loved it so much. I really, I want. I don't. I would like to know what people didn't like. This is the
Well,
doctor
here, I'll look it
took a
back up and tell you.
stand. He took a stand like he's never taken before. It's I.
Let's see
There's just
here.
something special about it, and I don't like people that don't like it. There, I said it. If you don't like it, it's bad.
Let's see
Go away.
here. Special or not, that is just playing down the entirety of the events and ruining the entire thing. No emotion is felt because you weren't allowed to make any attachments before. Oh no, they're dead, and so they are, and so on.
Who who are they talking about?
I don't know. It was though as
I
though I
had
was simply watching everything they could think of shoved together in some cheap wrapping paper bought last minute.
listen. I
No,
will
this was
I will
this.
allow. Go ahead.
I was just going to say they've pulled pieces from the first time you see Matt Smith,
Right.
and it's not. You could argue it's forced, but really,
I
it's Matt
That's
Smith.
what I was
The
gonna
whole
say.
Matt Smith thing is a paradox because where he is at the end is what causes what he experiences in the
Right.
beginning, and then what happens in the 50th, which we'll talk about. Basically, his greatest moment, which would quote unquote be saving Gallifrey, ends up being what causes his death.
Exactly. It. I will admit that you can make a valid argument that some of the loose ends that were tied up were forced, and you could tell just by the way they were written in. Like they would just have a line off to the side, like, "Hey, we're walking," and the silencer genetically engineered priest to make you forget what you confessed. You
Yeah.
know, those things, maybe you can say they're forced, but I thought they were well done. I thought he promised, he flat out said, we're gonna answer your questions, because I feel like we're gonna go a new direction, completely fresh now, which we'll get into later.
Oh yeah.
Um, but it was so like that everything was just written in and it made sense. And do I think that whenever he wrote the cracks and all that? No. I think when he wrote it in Matt's first season, he just kind of went with it. And when he got to the end, he was going to leave it a little bit more loosely translated. And I think he's decided, you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to do everything and just tie it all up. And I thought it went well.
Yeah.
I was fine with all that. But to me, those loose ends being tied up were so not part of what made this episode good. Like that
Mm.
was side stuff. That's like, that was the good baked potato with the steak. And I got
Yeah.
the big steak.
It helps though. It feels like it helps give closure to Matt Smith's story. Though
Right.
you have
He's
you
all of
have
his
the
stuff is wrapped
bookends.
up.
That you have the bookends now with the crack and everything else. Here and here, everything else is in the middle. I mean, most of the stuff people have asked was answered, except maybe like, how did Clara get the number to the TARDIS at that one point?
Right.
That first episode we were introduced, which they won't answer, and it's whatever. So,
There's one question I will be asking after a while. And it's not with this episode, it's with the 50th, and it drives me crazy, and I can't believe no one's complained about it. But I look at this episode, the story is showing how far Matt Smith will go to do what he feels is right. He sent her away twice trying to save her.
yeah,
He wanted to protect her from it, and even at the end, he was telling her to stay inside in such a feeble state he couldn't even break the paper. I don't understand who these people are saying. We didn't build up any connection. The connection, who cares? I don't. At no point did I care about the people that were dying in the town. I mean, other than just from
yeah,
a moral, I wish the people weren't dying in the town. You were tied into the fact that you were watching the young, vibrant 11th Doctor age and
Yeah.
just using his mind. The wordplay, the fact that when he stands up and says, "I don't have a plan. I'm just going to go in here and talk really fast
And people like it when I do.
and and wait for something to happen and take the credit for it." And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's exactly what happens. Except you're smarter than that.
Yeah.
Like he went to that rooftop resigned to dying because
Yeah.
he knew that was it. He knew that was it. And here's the thing that I think people are going to point out, and I again, not a classic Who guy, don't have all the answers. I feel like someone broke the regeneration limit once before, or it was stated that the regeneration limit was a choice by one of the leaders in Gallifrey. Like they could have regenerated forever, but a leader said that's too much. We're going to have this limit, which makes it make sense that someone inside of wherever Gallifrey is in that pocket universe
Would be
or
able
alternate
to
universe, would be able to
reset
say,
him, basically.
well, I'm not sure he's reset. I'm not
Well,
sure
he said
he may have one extra.
no. There was a line that said a whole new regeneration. What was the line? I took it as suggesting that he has a whole new set of 12 regenerations.
And that may be the case. I love that Stephen Moffat just clearly did we confirm that he was right? He wrote this episode, or did
I can't decide. I can't get. Let me read you some more post titles from the message board.
Let me get to this because
I can't get past that.
Stephen Moffat flat out dropped the line of "we're breaking," don't tell me the rules, just flat out saying I'm going to break the rules, I'm going to change the rules, which he can. He's the right. Do we really think that we are not going to work some way around this? Because this isn't like, okay, I love Lost, and I realize that people got confused going through Lost, and listen, if you've not watched Lost, please just jump ahead 5 minutes or something. I'm not going to talk that long, but I don't want you to spoil anything, but I'm going to talk. I realized that a lot of people started watching Lost because it was a plane crash on an island. I had a friend's parents who they were like, we love Lost, because to them it was some people surviving on an island. And then we get smoke monsters and we get time travel and all this stuff. And I'm happy with that, but it threw them off. And then you get to the end and what happened there, and people were upset. Just in case someone's stuck around, I don't want to spoil that. With Doctor Who, we are having to play, because we didn't reboot the series. When we started with Eccleston, it was a continuation. We are having to deal with rules and guidelines set forth 50 years ago that we cannot possibly be expected to take to. I mean, so are we just going to say there can't be another regeneration? We're done? We're okay, 50 years, we're out. Peace. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
We're not going to cancel the show. We have to find a way around that limit. This was his way around it. Let's keep it moving. Let's not get hung up on that stuff. Let's not be like, well, he could have explained this and blah, blah, blah. Where's the Valeyard? He should have been here. Well, I was reading an article that the Valeyard may not have really been a regeneration of the Doctor, and that may have been a lie that he told. I was doing some research. Imagine that. Anyway, so, yeah, if you'd like to read more comments from mean people, I will listen, but they're wrong.
Here, let me read some. What a beep pile of horse crap.
All right.
Return of the Deus Ex, whatever, the magical crack in the sky.
Do you not like the crack in the wall? That's one of the reasons I love Moffat stuff.
Yeah.
Moffat takes something normal and makes it scary. Something that scared you as a kid. A crack in the wall would scare the crap out of me if I was a little kid, because you don't know what's going to happen. Same thing with the darkness and him turning into Nosferatu. Same thing with statues and turning them into the Weeping Angels. All these things he turns. You're telling, why do people? I can't do it. I can't do it. If people don't like it, I'm sorry, but I loved it. I loved it.
And then that's 60 minutes that I won't get back. And yeah, it was written by Moffat. Sorry.
Of course it was. It had to be.
No,
It just had to be. He can't let Matt Smith leave without being the one that writes those words. And it was so perfect. It was so perfect. You want me to tell you one thing I thought they did, though? I thought they wrote him into being old. And to me, it kind of washes my theory away when they show him as the young one right before he switches. I thought they were pushing him to be extremely old so that he wouldn't look as old.
Be as, yeah, I kind of thought that at first. Well,
I really did, because there's people that are really hung up on Capaldi being older, and I think that's garbage. I will say, I they hyped up the Capaldi entrance as and if you've not figured out by now, people, we don't go back and just recap from beginning to end. We just talk about an episode that we just watched. So enjoy. Um, they had hyped that Capaldi of, oh, it's the greatest entrance of a Doctor we've ever seen. To me, to judge that, you take it from the moment he became the Doctor until the end of that episode. You know what I'm saying? Because usually the regeneration happens at the end of an
Yeah.
episode. So, like with Matt Smith, he changes, and then there's some talk back and forth with himself, and then he's crashing and drops the Geronimo. With this one, I thought it was a little short. I thought they could have done a little bit more. The kidneys line was funny, but it wasn't great,
Yeah.
and he didn't get to show any personality. I think they hadn't settled on a lot of things about Doctor. I
I
think
don't think they have
my
either. No.
my worry moving forward, which they're filming now, so they must have worked it out now. The Christmas episode was filmed a few months ago. I'm really worried that they didn't have a good direction. I'm hoping they've worked that out now, because I don't know a lot about Peter Capaldi. What I've seen, he's a great actor, and I'm really excited about it. And I did this whole thing when I started watching. David Tennant was already the Doctor. Now I started with Eccleston, but the regen had already happened. And I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
So, but for me, and I've gone on record, I love the Eccleston Doctor. I love and I was happy because my High Plains Drifter quote, Moffat said the same thing about him in one of the little recursions that they were doing for the 50th. Um, I love that High Plains Drifter, cold, just war torn Doctor.
Hmm.
But to me, David Tennant is the Doctor. That's when you say the Doctor, that's what I see in my head. And when they brought in Matt Smith, I'm not going to say I was completely, up in arms over it, but I remember going, I don't know about this. This isn't my guy. He's not the same Doctor, and it just was different. And then, of course, Matt Smith proved me wrong because he's an amazing Doctor. Yeah, I mean, he's just
Yeah.
simply amazing. Um, and I learned from that. I learned from whenever I laid in the floor because they made Heath Ledger's a Joker, and I thought that was ridiculous. I've learned my lesson to stop. If I don't know, back it down because people are making good choices.
Yeah.
Stephen Moffat has made enough good choices to make me love the show. He can pick his Doctor, and I'll just live with it and see what happens. But I'm excited about that. I'm trying to think if there's something else I want to touch on the Christmas episode. There was so much, like, I love handles. I wish we could have got more. My wife, of course, during like an extremely sad moment with Handles, she drops something that's a beautiful quote. But I mean, anybody that watches stuff with me, I don't want talking. We're quiet. We're all in this. We'll talk when it's over. She goes, it's like Wilson from Castaway, and I was like, be quiet. We're trying to watch a show. And then I was like,
That's
it's a lot
exactly.
like Wilson from
Yeah.
Castaway. I mean, that's perfect. And here's what's weird to me, and I'm definitely overthinking and overanalyzing. All of the what was the word he used? Basically, all the human parts of the Cyberman were gone.
We're
It
gone.
was only
Yeah.
the mechanical left. But he bonded with that.
Yeah.
He he bonded with the machine and made it his companion because he didn't have a companion. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I teared up whenever that thing died because it was set up so well when you had that final just please reconnect the phone, reroute it to the. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, dude, you're breaking my heart here. I mean, it was just like they wanted to
Well,
kick me in the chest as many times as they can.
that's another little line you have to give Matt credit Smith with how he said it. I mean,
Oh yeah,
you felt, I mean, yeah.
it. He just. I'm telling you. I've often said that Matt Smith does a wonderful job on the show, that he's a great actor. I think this is by far his finest acting performance. I think that we're going to see amazing things from him in the future because he acted. I mean, he's so strong. He carried everything so. There was such a weight to it. I don't know what added that gravity to it, but it just so man, it was just so strong. The whole thing to me. I'm not listing the haters now. This is just that's dumb. That's
I hope when they write, and I give them credit to where I don't think they will. But with Capaldi's doctor, I hope they don't give him these long, you know, where he talks a lot. Where
Monologues.
Smith, monologues. That's the word I was
Yeah.
looking for. It's late, but Smith has set the bar for monologues. You're gonna have to go away from
Oh yes.
You're gonna have to go away from monologues for a while.
Yeah. And that I think that things like that are part of being your own doctor. Because Eccleston didn't exactly have large monologues, but he liked to explain and detail things. Tennant always had a quip, and it was always fun, and it was always, well, they call him the hero.
Yeah.
It was just different. Matt Smith would go on these long, like you look back at Pandorica, or one of the two parts. I don't remember which one, but he gives the big speech to the aliens, which actually turns out to be a trap, so it wasn't as powerful when you go back and look. But don't think about that. Just think about how good it was in the moment. You get things like that with him. It's going to be different. I would like to say I know what I feel like. The Peter Capaldi doctor is going to be a little angry, but I think he's going to be very analytical and science, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think that may not happen, but that's just kind of the vibe I'm going to get. I'm really anxious to see the outfit, which we've not seen yet because no one's leaked anything, which we will talk about in the 50th of the genius of how Stephen Moffat is filming things. But we saw Matt Smith in his costume well before a new episode. When is the next episode? When are we going all the way through summer? It's going to be one run. They're not going to break them apart. He has said.
Yeah. Give me a second.
That's a long. If we gotta go to like August or September, that's a long time without new Who.
I don't know.
Especially
I don't know if they've announced it yet. To be honest with you.
because I feel like we went a while before the 50th, didn't we? Like the break before the 50th was pretty long.
Well, I mean, our last episode I think was in May before the 50th, so that tells you how long
Yeah.
ago. So.
And then we made it to the 50th, and then we had the quick jump to this episode. I'm so glad they didn't have him regenerate in the 50th because this was perfect. Like he needed this episode. He needed this whole it really. I'm telling you, the Doctor has matured because see that's what you have to think. The Doctor has had 500-600 years to mature through this entire war. And I really would like to look at the repercussions of what this does because does this mean that there is no longer the tomb of the Doctor on Trenzalore?
Yeah, I took it as he changed the future. So
none of that happened.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Which causes problems with Clara, causes problems with the Great Intelligence.
Yeah, it causes a lot. It causes a lot of problems, but we're again, and I think I've used this. I don't know if he's on this show, but like, it's like people watch Superman and they get mad because they're like, he hit Control Q instead of Control C on the computer, and that was wrong. And I'm like, he also flew. He's an alien that flies. You're gonna have to bend the limits a little bit and get on with it. It's a time travel show. There's no way through 50 years they can keep a perfect timeline. It's impossible.
Yeah.
There's just too much stepping on each other, and the show's fun. Who cares if we're off a little? It's fine. I'm sorry. I just don't. Maybe it's the old man in me coming out, where I'm just like, let's just enjoy stuff instead of just pouting because it's not perfect. Because things aren't going to be perfect. Although I think this episode was. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong. I'm fine with that. But
I don't see how anybody can argue with. I mean, yeah, you can argue with 1 or 2 points, but they're at the end and just no.
It was too good. It was too good.
And Moffat gave all the fangirls Matt Smith naked. They should be happy.
Which was fun. That was
I
like the family was hilarious.
What did you think about the wig thing? I mean, that's basically admitting, hey, guess what? Yeah, he's wearing a wig. Okay, let's go move on.
My wife had no idea about the wig. And so she pulled it off, and she's like, did he really shave his... Like, in her mind, that scene happened, and he shaved his head just for that moment in the show. And I was like, no. No, there's a whole other thing happening. And then, of course, what makes it funnier is, once we got done with it, we flipped over to... when we went to live TV, we had the Matt Smith Tribute special, which I've not watched all of yet, or we would talk about that too, but I can talk about what I've seen. but it had Karen Gillan sitting there, and she said she shaved her head too. And I was like, yes, everyone that leaves
Yes,
Doctor Who has to shave their head. It's weird.
they have to get a role that requires their head to be shaved once
Yeah,
they leave. Yeah.
immediately. Yeah, it that here's something I thought was, and I'm that guy that overlooks or looks too far into things. So that was her parents and grandmother, right?
I
Or
t-
no, because her parents died, didn't they?
Her
I
mother
don't
did.
remember.
Didn't her mother died?
So that's the stepmother. That's right. Okay, because I was like, I remember the only time we've seen her parents, there was the beautiful leaf kiss and all that, and we were
Mhm.
all just happy. And then this woman was annoying, and I did not like her.
So
But that's
that
a
was her
stepmom
dad and grandmother, which were the nice people, and then you
and
had
stepmom.
the
Yeah,
bratty
that makes more
stepmom.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes much more sense. Yeah, I did not care for the stepmom at all. She
No,
was
I didn't either.
yeah, she wasn't. She wasn't good times. But I enjoy that we got to see that piece of the family. I would have liked to have seen him interact with more of Clara's real life, I guess. But her real life is different because she's falling through space and time and doesn't really have,
Yeah.
a real life per se because
Do
she
you think
hasn't been real
that you
lives.
think that comes from us seeing so much of Amy and Rory, and then
I think
kind of
so
stepping back away from
because
it?
I could see them going a different direction just to keep it fresh. But I really like we did it with Donna. I mean, we got to see
Yeah, I
Wilf.
mean,
Wilf is one of my all-time favorite characters. I
oh yeah.
would love to have him back again. Um, we didn't have that with Martha. We had that with Rose.
Well, no, you did have it with Martha towards the end because you had
Yeah,
her
towards the
parents
end.
and her parents
Yeah,
got kidnapped in the by the
yeah.
master and
When the
stuff. So
Master came, yeah.
so really, Claire's the first one that they've not
And with Rory, and
really.
we've got more of her we can do. I mean,
Yeah,
we're going to keep seeing her. Although there are the rumors that the dude that runs in on the 50th and tells her there are doctors on the
is going to
phone
be
is going to be a companion. That's a rumor I've
which
seen.
is weird to me because the first time I saw him, he's like, that guy's too much Matt Smith going on with the look and
Yeah,
that just
I
yeah.
think we could. I'll tell you this. I didn't realize exactly how much until Amy walked down the steps how much I missed Amy and Rory.
Oh, I know.
I mean, Amy, Rory, and Matt Smith are just a perfect combination. It always worked. I want to after watching this episode, I want to go back and watch some key. Like I want to watch 11th Hour. I want to watch with Flesh and Stone and the Time of Angels. Or that the names of the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
when they go in the Byzantium or Byzantium.
yeah,
I want to watch those. There's a few more I want to see just to see how it plays. Looking back, but Moffat takes a lot of care into going back and looking at that stuff and make sure it plays out right. He doesn't just magically say, "Here it is." Let me not go back and look because he's a historian. He loves Who, so he likes to keep it together.
yeah.
Yeah, I really I don't have any questions. I wish we did.
Well,
So
I tried to pull it up and it said it wasn't loading, so it might not be working for him. I'm not sure.
maybe that could
So,
be the case.
but I will ask you this: you were talking about Capaldi and everything else. What do you think about the line saying, "Do you know how to drive this"?
I
Is that going to be a
it's
regeneration thing, or is that going to be a storyline where he just doesn't know?
I think I think it's a regeneration thing, but I think he may not know. I obviously each doctor changes personality, but to my knowledge, we've never had a situation where a doctor doesn't remember something from before. It's like he's not a new person, he's a new personality and new likes and wants and needs and all that, but he still knows the things he knows.
Yeah,
So it's the this extra round of regenerations could mean he started fresh, which I never thought of until I just said that. But I mean, he could really be starting over. There's a lot of things we don't know because they've just broken a major rule and redefined what they can do in the
yeah.
show, which is fine. But we don't know, and we've got a long time to speculate on it, and that'll probably cause us to go crazy.
When the obviously when they reset his regeneration limit, how'd you like that little look on his face he had, like, oh, it's on?
Oh, see, those are my favorite moments. Like I have always said one of my favorite moments, and it may be my actual favorite, is in, I don't remember. It's the second part in Silence in the Library, so I guess it's Forest of the Dead. Um, when Tennant does that whole, you're in the biggest library in all of the universe, space, and time. Look me up, and then like it takes a step back because it's like, oh snap, this could get bad real quick. Those moments, like Blood Family, where you spend everything thinking he's running from them because he's a coward, but he's running from them because he doesn't want to do what he thinks he has to do to stop them. Like, I love those moments where he's just the hardcore doctor. That's why I love the speech on the Pandorica, because it is literally just, come get it. I'm the
Yeah.
doctor, and I ain't worried about nothing. Again, it's a trap, so it's not as good, but still, it's a good speech. I like that moment of, I've never seen the doctor feel like he doesn't have another card to play. And tonight we did, because he was resigned to dying.
Yeah.
It was over. He was done, and that new life, that new breath of energy. Oh, it was beautiful. He was ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh, here, let me ask you this question, because we've had a weird Dalek relationship in the past year and a half. We had Asylum of the Daleks, which was probably the best episode of the season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he wiped everything out of the Dalek memory banks, so they didn't know who he was, which is, I thought, a great move.
Well, he didn't. Claire did. Claire started it, and then he did it.
Right. And in this, they get or get their knowledge back by all that, and that's fine. The way it played out to me is basically everyone else died off, and the Daleks were the only people left fighting this battle, right? On Trenzalore?
Died off, or they just went on like, all right, forget this. Y'all do whatever.
That's one of the things I'm wondering, because if they all died out, then we've eliminated a lot of bad guys.
You've eliminated the Silence and the Angels and some Moffat stuff that wouldn't hurt. Wouldn't hurt.
We were allied with the Silence in this, which was weird, but I liked it. But here's the thing: the Daleks have fought this fight for, we'll call it 500 years. They, in theory, could have amassed the largest army they've had since Skaro and the Time Lock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so I feel, and I don't love the Daleks. I understand their place in history, and that's great, but they look like they're walking around with toilet plungers, and they don't scare me as much as they do everybody else for some reason. Although seeing them on Space and Time was pretty sweet and made me appreciate them even more. But we've had somewhat of a break from them, because while they were a part of the 50th anniversary, they weren't the focal point.
Yeah.
They were just a part of it. So I'm okay if we have to bring them back and do a big something or other. That's cool, because every Doctor needs to face the Daleks at least once.
Well, they've done a good job of just peppering them in, like, because I mean, if they are that big of a deal, they would just randomly pop up or just be more organic. They've made them more organic, basically, than what others typically are.
Moffat's went on record as saying he's probably not going to bring the Angels back for a while. Tonight, I knew they would be in the episode. They had a scene that I thought was very epic, because you have to figure out a new way to make the Blink, like, Blink is Blink, and it is outstanding.
Yeah.
And then when you have them in the Byzantium, you have people not blinking, but now the problem is if you don't blink, they can get trapped in you. So now you're screwed either way. So they had to come up with a new twist, and with this, the snow causing,
you to get blind. It gets in your
properly.
eyes for a second,
And if they're under the snow and I don't see any part of their body, can they just move anywhere? I mean, there was a lot of cool things that happened in just a minute.
I like that quick shot. I like the quick shot was Love the Doctor and the mirror.
Yeah.
Tiki.
I hope they do books about his time on Trenzalore in a town called Christmas. I think there's a lot of good opportunity there. Just like I think there's a lot of opportunity between was Water of Mars the last movie before End of Time? Like between Water of Mars.
Was Water of Mars or the one with Lady
Planet of the Dead?
Yeah, Planet of the Dead.
I like Water of Mars a lot more than Planet of the Dead, but
I'm saying which one?
Which
one is?
whichever that in between period, to me, you can write unlimited books about David Tennant doing things because he's just roaming. He's out just looking for fun because he knows he's gonna die. And I think we can have similar stories on there, and I think it would be really cool.
Speaking about books,
Mm-hmm.
I have your copy of this that I'm bringing to you.
Yes, and I'm gonna bring that up in a little while.
And
Actually,
the forward to this, yeah, it's pretty. It's yeah, because this is a collection of 3 stories, and then you've got
and
a special forward written by Amy. So
the no, I've only I bought one of them on Kindle and started reading it a long time ago. I never got to finish it, but
well, this has.
was one of the. It's the first book in a series, and I believe there's a character called the Curator.
Well, this is Summer Falls and Other Stories. So it has Summer Falls, The Angel's Kiss, and The Devil in the Smoke.
The Summer Falls is the one I started, and there's a character which is clearly the Doctor, but I think he's called the Curator.
But
Which in my mind it was Matt Smith, but now I feel like it's Tom Baker. But that's a whole
let's
other
see
thing.
here. 9:14. You have 5 pages that can add a whole extra little layer to things.
Sweet. I look forward to reading that then. So, Christmas episode. Do we have anything? I don't even know when we started. I feel like we've done the Christmas episode justice, but I don't know. Have we? I don't really have a lot of like. I didn't take notes. It's Christmas.
I
So
didn't
actually
either.
just lay on the couch.
I wasn't watching this one trying to analyze everything, expecting to see,
No,
because it's like I said, it's a bookend. They were closing up things here.
yeah,
So
I was just flat out enjoying it. Yeah, I was just flat out enjoying this episode, and that's kind of where we ended up. So I didn't keep a lot of, um, I didn't keep a lot of things in the back of my mind. I didn't even try to make mental notes. I was just watching,
I'm just
and
wondering if we'll end up seeing Dialect Lady with the ripped hole in the forehead that she never did anything with in 500 years.
it's possible. It, I, I have a feeling we're going to see some blowback from that. From something in that arena, like I don't think we're done with the church.
No, I
And
think,
I don't think it's gonna be a big thing, but I think it's gonna play in later because she was a decent character.
yeah, I think this whole next season is going to be blowback from. I think this one was too. Is blowback from the 50th.
Yeah, and he's
And
gonna go
it's
searching.
just and it's going to be a snowball. So this is a snowball at the very top of the hill, and it's just starting to come down.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna amp up. So, um, if people have more Christmas episode questions or comments, send them to us at PoliceBX Paradox on Twitter. Go to policeboxparadox.com. You can see links to everything. Send us email. TARDIS at policeboxparadox.com. And we'll be glad to try to bring stuff up, answer them some way. We could do a blog. We might do another episode. Who knows? We'll do something.
or
Um,
comment on the site because I'll have a
yeah,
couple of posts the next little bit. So if you're
I'm
lazy and
sure.
just don't go no farther than that, so that's an option.
So, with that, let's jump back to. Well, actually, let's jump back to the Night of the Doctor and just hit it real quick because I thought it was really cool. I thought
It's very
that
well done.
yeah, it and no one saw it coming.
That's
That's what
one of
was
the best.
perfect.
Yes.
Like it was here's another one and Paul McGann's in it and I said, "What?" And then I loaded it and it looked great. I wish they could do more stuff with him like that because he still looks young enough where it's not completely out of place and you have to
Yeah.
justify
Well,
it. Uh,
he's played the Doctor. He's done a lot of audiobooks. Like they've got
yeah.
that whole audiobook thing, so he's done all that. So he's played the character still, but you can tell he was just having fun. He's like, "Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
get
he
to do this
was.
again."
Yeah, he was. He had a blast with it, and I thought it was well written. I thought it filled the gap really well. We got to see that regeneration that no one ever saw, which was always that loose one that was out there, which made the perfect gap to bring in the John Hurt Doctor.
Hmm.
Now, before we get into the 50th, here's my one question, and maybe you've seen an answer for this. When we end the Name of the Doctor, we're in the time stream in my opinion, in somewhat peril. Like it wasn't like they were 100% in control of the situation. And then whenever the 50th starts, we're in a whole different place. Like she's got a teaching job, he's off doing his thing. There's
Apparently, they just
motorcycles.
walk out the door. Apparently, there was an exit sign, and they just walked out.
Well, he does. I watched the end. I watched the end of Name of the Doctor tonight because it was on earlier, and he does say that he can't like. He says he's something about leaving, but he can't leave until he has her, and so I'm assuming if he has her, he can walk right out. But to me, there should have been something to let us know that. I don't know, just something.
A
It just
2-minute
seemed
mini-sode between everything, just yeah.
just something to make me go, oh, that's what happened, because I fully expected when the 50th started that we were going to be at the moment where John Hurt was standing looking at us and us all going, holy crap, John Hurt's the Doctor. Like that whole thing. And it doesn't take anything away from the 50th. I thought the 50th was great. But it just seemed weird. And I wish they had gone a little more into detail. So
Yeah.
the 50th starts, and I mean, if you want to, we can, but I don't necessarily think we need to get into Easter eggs and all that stuff, except for point out a few cool ones. But
Actually, I'll backtrack 1 second
okay,
because it this all connects. Did you notice Matt Smith do the whole nose thing like Tom Baker
I
did?
did, I did, I did notice it. And is that something Tom Baker did a lot on his show,
I
on
take
his
it
series?
was because they were
That's
talking
the
about
way
his
it felt.
mannerisms and everything. Yeah, I mean it was, but
I will say this, and we're definitely jumping to the end of the 50th. We'll come back. Tom Baker's segment at the end of the 50th makes me want to go back and watch Tom Baker episodes because
yeah,
there's just he has the scatterbrained. I have a point, but you'll never know I have a point because I'm going to deliver it in such a fashion that it seems crazy. And it was really fun. I realized that, I mean, a lot of people love the Tom Baker episodes because that's what people love. But to me, I watched a couple before and they seemed so hokey that it was just hard to watch. But maybe I need to go back and watch some more because he delivered that very well.
yeah.
But yeah, he did do that, and I thought that was definitely either a shout out to him, or maybe we're gonna see more old faces again because that's mentioned at the end of this. Um, I definitely did not have the storyline for the 50th right. I had a whole different story that was going to take place. I
Yeah, I
thought
wasn't close.
I thought the entire episode would take place in the time stream, and that's why we could get multiple doctors. This worked just as well. I thought it was fun. I liked it. I again, I'm not going in looking for, you know, this. We're not. This isn't Shakespeare, people. Show me how we can get these people together and make it happen. And if anyone thought that we weren't going to get something amazing when David Tennant and Matt Smith stood next to each other, they're crazy because they were gold the second. Now, we can get into this whole experience later, but for those of us who went and saw it in theaters,
Oh,
there was a whole intro that no one has seen and I'm not seeing leaked online that was so well done and showed how funny they could be,
yeah.
and it was awesome. I hope it's on the DVD or something so people can see it because I laughed.
And
That
I mean, all right. Wes and I went to see it together. I mean, not like a date, but
Not
we
a
went
date.
to
My
the
son
same.
was there and everything. We were
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. But there was kind of a ha ha ha, yeah, yay, Matt Smith when he came on. But then when he switched to Tenet, that was the
Oh,
first sign that I said, "Oh, this is going to be fun to sit here and watch this."
now and see. Okay, we'll just go ahead and get into that part too. So we watched it in theaters. 2 weeks before when they announced that it was going to happen, it wasn't a Saturday showing. Like there was, I think, eight
No, it was
Saturday showings
yeah. There's
that
like eight
happened at the
cities or
same
something.
time,
Yeah,
and the closest one to us was Chicago, which is a good little drive. So there were a lot more theaters that were going to have it on the Monday after. So we had all already seen it. We go and they had one showing 7 o'clock, and we I hadn't decided if I was going to be able to make it because we had things we were doing. And we decided to go. They had bumped it from one 7 o'clock showing to two 7 o'clock showings and a 10 o'clock showing.
yeah.
So I was like, they must have sold some tickets to this. we get there are people everywhere dressed up as Tom Baker in TARDIS this and blue
Yeah.
that and Sonic everywhere. I can
In Richmond,
honestly
Kentucky.
say, yeah, I know, other than, Michael, Kyle, and my family, I know like 4 people in real life total, and I know a lot of people. The fact that there was this many people blew my mind. There was another stat that popped up during the Doctor Who trivia on the screen. It was something like how many sonic screwdrivers are sold in the United States in a day,
Oh yeah,
every
that
single
was
day, and it was like over 1,000. And maybe that doesn't seem like a big number to anyone else, but the fact that 1,000 sonic screwdrivers are sold in the United States every day makes me feel like a lot of people are buying sonic screwdrivers. We've got several in our house, but we don't buy a new one every day. We could, because we break them and use them so much we need them, but I
yes, mine
love
is
them.
beat up thanks to my daughter.
Mine's
That's
rough. I had to doctor mine just so I could get, because I didn't want to go and not have my light
well,
work.
you were talking about people knowing it. Um, I'll be vague, but the changes in my life since the last time we recorded, I
Correct.
have I have become aware of a large number of people that are fans, not near as open as we are about it, but
Well,
very big fans because there'll be conversations like, "Oh yeah, he likes I don't know anything he likes. He likes Doctor Who and everything else." And then all of a sudden that's a 10-minute conversation that I get text about.
yeah, that, and I think, and they covered this a little in the farewell to Matt Smith piece. Um, when Matt Smith came on, that's when BBC started dropping the money. Like
Yeah.
David Tennant had money in his stuff, nothing like what Matt Smith had behind the production and the promotion. And that to me is where America took notice,
It was
and we
that, and
started
then
seeing more and more.
didn't BBC America start airing it the same day as BBC
Yes,
instead of like a
the
big
yeah,
time gap between them?
like months difference, like they're doing with Downton Abbey. Like
Yeah.
I don't watch it, but I'm supposed to because my wife loves it. But like Downton Abbey, the season finale was like a month ago on BBC. It starts on BBC America next month. So that, like, there's this big gap, and that's what they used to do with Doctor Who. And when they started showing them together, people got more interested, and that's why I think it's starting to get more and more popular. That, and I mean, it's an awesome show,
Yeah.
but we got to get eyeballs on it in order for people to realize that, and we finally are. So I'm glad we're getting to that point. It just was weird being in a room full of people that were really just that excited. There were some crazy people. There was a dude behind us who
What
something came
he
up on
said
the
he hadn't
screen.
watched the sixth season or
The
hadn't watched.
season's
I mean,
the seventh series. He's
yeah.
up there and he goes, something comes up on the screen and he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to read that," because they had this cool trivia thing that ran in the movie that was just Doctor Who related. And he's like, "I'm not going to read that. I'm not. I don't want any spoilers. I'm not seeing series 7 yet." And I was like, I want to say, like,
You and me
dude,
just looked at each other like,
you're
what on
you're
earth?
at the 50th. There's gonna be some spoilers here. I,
Yeah.
it was weird. The other part I thought was fun because my son he wore the fez and the bow
Fez.
tie
He
and
could
his
have
his
gotten
Sonic.
him so many
Any
women,
woman he wanted. He's 11 and extremely embarrassed when girls talk to him now. But
but that
every girl we
Fez was
walk
all he
by,
needed.
they come up. Oh, it's such a cute hat. He's like, "Thank you," and just keeps moving. It was hilarious. Um, oh, on my TV right now, David Tennant is saying goodbye to Matt Smith because I've got the
He says
playing in the
that.
background.
I do like that line. That Matt Smith is just like,
Yeah. What we can talk
and
about
then
this
and
since
then
I'm
he
looking
talks
at.
about Tennant's doctor again in the Christmas. He
Yeah,
was-
yeah. It's had a vanity issue.
yeah.
The To me, this episode was really the 50th. This moment where David Tennant looks at Matt Smith and says, "My future's in good hands," which is a little hokey because Matt Smith's almost over. But
Yeah.
something I wasn't aware of at the time, and kind of been made more aware of now, is there was a lot of friction with Russell T Davies and trying to get him out. I'm not saying Moffat forced him out, but I think people wanted to force him out and replace him with someone, and Moffat was the best choice. So it seemed like there was a more forcefulness to the switch over there
Yeah.
than maybe we were aware of. And this kind of gives not that Matt Smith needed it, but he gives that cosign of David Tennant staying well, and I think that's important because David Tennant is so special to the series that
Yeah.
giving that affirmation really pays off, and I think they're gold on camera together. I thought the story for the 50th was well done. I thought the John Hurt piece was great. It makes me more and more angry at Christopher Eccleston. I don't know why he.
Have you read that the Hurt character was actually going to be Eccleston?
It was supposed to be. It was,
Yeah.
yeah.
But for me, I'm not as big on Eccleston as you are, but I do like him and everything else. I'm glad it was Hurt that pushed the button and they made Hurt be the one to do that. I think it would have just messed up how people would view Eccleston if they knew he was the actual one that did it, instead of the one that has to deal with the repercussions from it.
Right, and this may have just been a mistake that Davies made, and I'm not saying a mistake like it's bad. And I know a lot of people you like Moffat or Davies. I like them both. I think they both have shining bright points. Very obvious if you go back and watch Rose. That
with the ears, it's a new face, and he's just regenerated.
He's very fresh, which means McGann would have had to have been the Doc more, I guess. It's just a weird gap because I'll tell you this: when I started watching, I didn't understand that I thought there had always been a Time War. I thought from the beginning of Doctor Who that had been on TV, this dude was on the run, and the Time War happened, and they were in time. Like, I didn't know any better. And so, going back later and looking, I found out, they had all those things and all the different episodes and the different stories. But at the time, I didn't know, I didn't think about it. But the John Hurt insertion makes sense. I would have loved to have seen Eccleston in, and it had been the three of them with John Hurt. I think that could have been really cool. Like, even if...
And that wouldn't have been overloaded. I could see people say, well, that's too many. But
no,
you've got two ends of the spectrum. You've got the guy that caused this, and then the three people that have had to deal with what this guy did.
Yeah, the too many cop-out doesn't work anymore. After the Avengers worked, no one's allowed to say it.
Yeah,
now maybe somebody's not talented enough to write it, but once Joss Whedon put that many characters in a movie and made each of them have equal time and work, no one gets to cop out and say it's too many people. It can be done if it's done right. I would have even been okay without Eccleston being in the majority of the episode. I would have just liked to have seen, like, they stole a clip. I forget what episode it's from, but when they're coming in at the end, the doctors that are at the end. Yeah, that's just a clip from an episode, and that's fine. But I think there could have been something there that could have been really well done. That would have been cool.
They could have had him pop up and be like, oh, Fez, well, I'm going to go watch JFK drive down the street, and then put him back, have him where he's in that picture where he's in Dallas.
There's just there was some way you could have brought him in and made it work. But
now, did you read why he didn't? One of the reasons he refused?
No.
There was a director. There was a director that he worked with that directed like 4 or 5, 6 episodes that he did, and he wanted that director because that's the one he got along with and everything else.
Right.
And he said, "I'll come, but I want this guy directing it." And they're like, "No." He's like, "All right then.
Man.
I got Thor: Dark World money. I don't need you."
I guess let's be honest. What else has Eccleston done? He was the bad guy in Gone in 60 Seconds. Great movie. Loved it, but you're the bad guy in Gone in 60 Seconds. It ain't a movie about you.
G.I. Joe.
Then G.I. Joe, which he didn't get brought back for the second one. He's the Invisible Man in Hero Season 1 and maybe Season 2. Is he doing something I don't know about? Like, was he nominated for an Oscar and no one told me? Because he's acting like... to me, it comes across as this, I'm too good to go back to the doctor, when the doctor's the only thing you're going to be able to eat out on for the rest of your life. Like, I feel like he should be able to go anywhere in England. They would go, oh, the doctor's here, and here's a free meal.
Well, see, that's what Tom Baker did. I mean, you know that. Did you realize? I just realized this, like, recently, was that 5 Doctors special where they had the 5 of them? He's not even in it.
Really?
No, they used old footage, and then, well, if you look at the picture, there, they got the cast picture, and he always looks weird. I always thought, dude, was in the sun too much or something, or he looks like a woman. It's a wax figure.
Huh. I did
Yeah,
not know that at
I
all.
read all that. All right, let's see here. What has he done? Let's go back from Doctor Who. Doctor Who. Okay, since that, Einstein's Big Idea. I don't know. Perfect Parents. Nah. He was in
That
Heroes. Then The Seeker. The Dark is Rising. New
the,
Orleans, Mon Amour. the
this
Sarah
all sounds like
Silverman. The
straight
Sarah
to
Silverman
DVD.
program. Yep. G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra. All right, there's a big thing. Amelia. Lennon Naked. Yeah, about John Lennon. He played John Lennon, so maybe that's where the attitude came from.
Maybe.
The Happiness Salesman. I don't know. Accused. The Shadow Line. The Borrowers. Blackout. Unfinished Song. Emily. Then Thor: The Dark World.
You can't come back to some Doctor Who, buddy? I mean,
I
really?
mean, it's mostly TV series.
I It just makes me mad. Like, I think the reason I love Tennant so much is he loved Doctor Who. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
he the there's so much around him that I think is just wonderful storytelling. But he didn't want to be the Doctor. He called asking if he could simply be on the show. That's all he
And
wanted to do was be like
and
a bad guy or a waiter. And they said, "Would you like to be the Doctor?" And he said, "Yes, yes, I would." And he became the Doctor.
And you know,
That's
as soon
awesome.
when he asked Davidson's daughter out that first time, he's like, "If this goes, I'm marrying you because you the doctor's daughter, not mine. His,
Yeah,
but still,
it's
that you're like a
oh
mantelpiece."
yeah on the
Oh,
on
Did you see the? This is going off the rails. Did you watch that Davidson produced little the three doctor type
I
thing where they
did
have
I did I
where
did and it
where
was it
Tennant
was
makes little
funny.
cameos in it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was funny, and you got to see her, which I keep hoping they bring that character back at some point, but that's a whole other ball of wax. Was it Jenny? Is Jenny her name
Yeah.
in the
I mean, you could
episode?
easily bring her back with the Vastra and Strat and that group and just include her in
Mm-hmm.
this little side group that they were part of, but
Yeah, I like all of those. The I don't know. It's just so good, and I'm glad they were all in there. I thought John Hurt was strong. He yeah, obviously I don't think he was a Whovian. I don't think he watched a lot of Doctor Who. I think he probably knew who they were, but I don't think it was a thing. I know he didn't understand half of what he said, but he really enjoyed doing it.
yeah. Which fits with the whole timey-wimey thing. He's like,
Yeah,
which I still crack up just thinking about Tennant going, I don't know where he gets that from.
the thing that I laugh, and I mean I bust out belly laugh out loud every time, is whenever he just looks at him and goes, "Why are you pointing screwdrivers at me?"
Are you going to build him a cabinet?
And then he points at the kid. He's like, "They're tools. What are you?" That every time I laugh.
Yeah.
Every time because it is so funny. It's just because it's a different doctor, and you wonder why did they start doing that? Why have I never questioned why they're aiming a sonic screwdriver?
Yeah.
It's a screwdriver. I mean, you could do some damage with a real screwdriver, but is it that scary?
But yeah, him just calling them out on all their little things. It was just,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'm gonna say probably some of the best. Like one of the I mean, the whole thing was filled with hilarity and lots of awesome things. But that moment where they're in the jail in the tower, and he asks if he's ever counted them, and um, Smith says no, and that just recoil from David Tennant of knowing the exact number and is it so easily forgotten, and that was just some good acting.
Oh yeah.
Tennant Tennant can act it. That's why I look back. Like I really had my doubts on how good Matt Smith's regeneration could be because I thought in the end of time, Matt Smith's naked on my TV right now for some reason. Um, in the end of time, that little monologue that Tennant does when Wilf's in the booth and he's like, "Of course it's you," and he does that whole self-pity and gets it all out and then turns it back around and obviously is going to do the thing he knows he has to do.
Yeah.
It's just beautifully acted. It was well written, but it was beautifully acted. And Matt Smith tonight was so good too. It was just so good. But anyway, the 50th. Thought the story was great. Thought the acting was awesome. I love being on Gallifrey. Now that we have the technology we have, I think going to Gallifrey is really, really cool. I think
Yeah.
because obviously with the big turn of events in the 50th and where we went to with tonight's Christmas episode, we're going for Gallifrey. Like Gallifrey is going to come back and be
It's
involved
there.
at some point.
We know it's there. That's done and said. And it's obvious
Yeah.
that the Time Lords and stuff are like, okay, come on, Doctor, help out. You've done this much,
Yeah.
so come on.
So there's definitely we're going to have more Gallifrey, and I'm excited about that because I want to see more Gallifrey. I think we can do some cool stuff there, and I think there can be a whole, you know, the Doctor is not following their rules, and we can. There's a whole lot of things we can do that we can open up with that I don't think we've had, and that excites me. The other thing in the 50th that I thought was really really well done was I've lost my train. Oh, the end when they brought all the doctors, I thought the seed was planted so well with the breaking down of the door by having the same technology work throughout. And in my mind, at no point did I think all doctors would show up. And
Yeah.
I am not gonna lie, watching it in our house the first time we watched it, when they said all 13 doctors, I
You're
jumped
like,
up. I didn't
oh,
set up. I jumped up because at no point did I think like that wasn't even in my mind that was an option.
okay. Does
Even
that
after I knew
does
all
that
12 were coming.
does that just answer the question of how he's going to be if it's a regeneration thing or if he's been reset and he's going to have to figure out who he is now?
I don't know because we don't know when that's happening for
In
Capaldi.
terms him,
That
yeah,
that could be the first thing he does. It could be the last thing he does. It could. We don't know where it's going to fall. Showing his eyes was genius. Obviously, they didn't want. They didn't have his
they don't
looks
have
set. They
they
didn't have
still
any of
don't.
that stuff.
Yeah,
So they were like, "What can we do? We'll just show his eyes." Well, his eyes were mad. He was angry.
yeah.
That was
Okay,
angry eyes. Those were not
I
happy fun time eyes.
I hate bouncing back again, but you've just made me think of this with the outfits and everything else. What about that move with him taking his bow tie off and dropping it? Like,
Beautiful,
this is it with the bow
beautiful.
tie.
Not only was it beautiful in the story, it was shot perfectly. It was everything fell. It was well done. I'm telling you, I it was such a good and coming off the 50th where at no point I love the 50th, but at no point when I walked out of the 50th I say this is the best episode I've ever seen. It's some of the most fun I've ever had
Oh
watching Doctor
yeah,
Who. And that relief of seeing David Tennant again and getting to relive that, and because you when it's like tonight, I watched Matt Smith just go away, and in my mind I'll never see him. Everything from the Doctor I've seen. There's nothing new, which is a lie because the 60th anniversary, the 55th, whatever they do, they could easily bring him back at any of those for a moment for anything. But in my mind, he's gone. I'd made my peace with David Tennant being gone, and so now we got him back, and it was like a freebie, and it made it fun. But this episode tonight, I'm serious. I'll watch it again in a few months to see. It may be my best episode I've ever seen. But it
it's.
doesn't stand alone. Blink stands alone. You could tell someone who's never seen an episode of Doctor Who to watch Blink, and it's a great episode.
I'm
This
gonna
you
test
have
that
to have
theory
backstory.
soon.
See, I that was always my thing, but somebody just told me once and that you're wasting it. Like when I saw Blink, I'd seen it all those episodes up till then, and it made it, and I was told it made it better. I don't know if it did or not because I can't say I've done it the other way.
I can see that argument though.
So you don't want to burn it. So I don't know. That's why I just don't know. I've always said if you want to see if someone likes the show, Blink's the way to go, which is crazy because the Doctor's barely in the episode. But I think if you find someone that watches Blink and doesn't like it, they're not going to like anything.
Yeah.
they're not gonna try it. So I don't know. It's a good argument you can have back and forth.
All right, here's a question going back to the 50th. You think it was a cop out to use Billy Piper how they did?
No, I don't, because I think Billy Piper is an extremely important figure, and they wanted to use her, and you couldn't step on what you would like. That was my fear, and people can go back and listen to episodes. My fear was they were going to ruin the beautiful ending that she had, and with this, they didn't. And we got to see her. We got to enjoy having her in the episode without. I think we all understood it wasn't Rose,
Yeah,
and I was fine with that because
that's why I said Billy
I,
Piper instead of Rose.
yeah, I was more happy that we had Billy Piper in the episode, and I wouldn't have been upset if Rose was in the episode, but it would have had to have been done in a way that did not touch anything, because with the doctors, they've stepped all over their timelines with this, and they've changed a lot of things, and I'm okay with that because it didn't change any endings. Like, it didn't change the way Tennant goes out. It didn't change the way that Matt Smith goes out. It didn't change any of those things. It just became part of the process. If you had changed how Rose ended up, it would have bothered me, and I don't think you could brought her
Yeah,
back without doing it.
I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more after Matt Smith and David Tennant's reactions to him saying "Bad Wolf Girl."
Yeah,
Because I like the fact
yeah,
that they even showed Matt Smith's reaction, like "What?"
yeah.
And then of course Tennant's like, you know,
Well, and that's what's crazy. There is literally not a single moment of interaction between Tennant and Piper in the whole episode,
other
and
than
that's
literally being feet away from each other.
yeah, but not being able to acknowledge that they're there, and I think that's kind of cool. But um, yeah, I like it. I like it so much. I enjoyed the 50th. I thought it was cool. Peter Capaldi's eyes blew me away. Didn't see him coming. I didn't. The girl, the impossible girl, that whole everything. It all worked. Bravo, Stephen Moffat. You've done well. I hope you stay with the show forever. But I'm sure at some point there's already talk of how far he's going to go. I think we've definitely
Yeah.
got this next series, and then we'll see. Um, but there's a lot of people. Like, I don't think Gaiman would necessarily take it over, but there's a lot of interest on the show now because there's Rumor Gaiman wants to do another episode.
Peter
Peter
Jackson.
Jackson wants to do an episode. That's a big deal when Peter Jackson wants to do your show. I
Well,
mean,
it's
when
more
he's
it's
got
the, the amount of the jump that it's gone into being mainstream worldwide
right.
is insane. So
Yeah, it's definitely out there for a lot of people now, and being able to bring in directors like that and writers like that just makes it so there's so many more options. So I'm hoping Moffat stays with it. He's doing Sherlock. He's doing this. There's going to be they've signed on for one more series of Sherlock for sure. A series 4, which series 3 starts next month, I think.
it starts in
Um,
January, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So Moffat's doing a lot of things with that, but he's good. So that's I enjoy his work. Maybe there's some RT Davies people that are unhappy with that, but I like it. Um, so I don't know if there's anything else. So it's been a while since I watched the 50, so there's definitely not a lot of intricate details I would go into, but hopefully, hopefully everyone else enjoyed
I'll
it.
ask, do you, I think you kind of said this earlier, but do you take, some people, I mean, people have 15 different interpretations of the curator at the end. How did you
Hmm.
take it?
I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. I feel like the way it was written and the way it was played was meant to make us feel like the Doctor's timelines aren't necessarily it's timey wimey. Whereas, well, here's why. Because even though he can time travel and do anything he wants, we still think of the way the Doctors exist in a linear path.
Yeah.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 war, 9, 10. Those are all together. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's more quantum leap, where every moment of every time is like a string balled up, and every moment touches every moment, which made me feel, because he specifically says in the coming time you will revisit some old
Past
faces, but
faces,
only,
yeah,
yeah, but only your favorites or whatever.
favorites.
Um, and that's a to me that line isn't a throwaway. That's there was rumor before Capaldi got announced that Matt Smith may regenerate into David Tennant, and I don't think that was ever going to happen. But that makes you think we've got other options.
Yeah.
If it is there a moment in time where the doctor's done traveling and he just decides he wants to be the curator, so he simply just turns back into Tom Baker and calls
I
it
was about to
quits and
say,
goes and works in his
now
museum.
now that the regenerations have been quote unquote reset, who says he can't be like, you know what, I like that. I'm gonna go.
Well,
Let's see here. It's 13, so 14, 15, 16, 17, 16, 17. Like, you know what? I like being 4. I think at 16 I'll be 4 again, and I'll just chill out for a while.
and here's something to keep in mind in the Paul McGann mini episode. Those witches or whatever they are,
They can
pretty much,
control it.
yeah, they dictated what happened.
Yeah.
It would make total sense that they could dictate that he could become Tom Baker again.
So maybe they
So
get
I think
Hermione. They get Hermione to get a hair from Tom Baker, drop it in a
right.
little potion. He drinks it. Bam.
Welcome back, Mr. Potter.
And Harry Potter takes over.
See, I in my mind, and I could be completely wrong. The curator was without a doubt the doctor.
Oh
I
yeah.
have no doubt in my mind,
There's no.
and that leaves too many loopholes for it not to be. There was so much wordplay with causing confusion. He said, what if I were you, or what if you were me?
Me, yeah.
It was just this whole back and forth of it could be what you think is forward is actually backwards, what you think is backwards is actually forwards. Obviously, we saw Matt Smith or David Tennant turn. We can't do that backwards because we saw it happen. But who's to say it can't? There's just too much. There's too much to play around with, and I think that he can regenerate more times. I think he can regenerate into people he was before. It opens up a lot of doors.
I concur.
Okay, so 50th anniversary. Let's talk space and time real quick. I watched this episode. It's not episode. It's a standalone movie. From a pure production standpoint, I thought the movie was great. I thought it was shot well. I thought it being a period piece was really cool.
Yeah.
I really, really was blown away with how well it was done. I didn't think it was going to be that good. I don't want to say that. I didn't feel like they were going to put as much money into it as what they did, and it was so well done. And then on top of that, the story was fascinating.
Yeah.
I did not know any. I mean, I knew Hartnell had left because of an illness, but I didn't understand the process in which it happened. I did not know that the first female showrunner in the history of BBC was the person who made Doctor Who work. I didn't know a Canadian guy made a Doctor Who. I didn't know that they used to have to fill the episodes and only had a budget for 3 edits. 3.
Yeah. 3.
3 edits.
Yeah.
Come on. That show should have never made it on the air with the things that they had to go up
It
against.
wouldn't this day and time at all. They'd be like, forget that.
No way. Everything was so daring. The way they did the intro, everything was so over, just left field, out of the totally different direction, and it seemed like so many people were against them, not because they didn't like them, because they didn't have faith in it. And it drew, I forget what the number was, but it was a ridiculous number it drew for the Dalek episode. In a time like that, number would be good now, and it was then. So I don't know. I'm hoping that people watch this, blow past it because it was an actual Doctor Who thing. But I don't know his name. Walter. He plays Walter Frey in Game of Thrones. The guy that played Hartnell nailed it.
Oh
He
yeah,
nailed.
he's the
It's kind
guy
of like when you
from
watch Iron Man, you
Dinosaurs on a
go,
Spaceship.
yeah. It's when you see uh what's his name? I just said it. Not Charlie Sheen. Robert Downey Jr. And
Hmm.
you just know he's Tony Stark. This dude was made to play this role because he crushed it. Crushed it. Everyone else did a great job, but he was a different level. And I really, if you've not seen Adventure Space and Time, please go buy it and watch it because there's a whole world of Doctor Who
David
story that you
Bradley.
don't know. David Bradley, that's correct. He is a complicated man on Game of Thrones, to say the least. I don't want to spoil that for anybody.
Have you read the
Um,
books?
and I don't. I'm not. I'm trying to
Yeah.
work through them, but even the audiobooks are like 9 months long. It's
Oh,
just,
yeah. It's like the last one's like 50. It's ridiculous. Yeah,
yeah, it's just so much. I can't. It's hard to digest. But I want to get through them, and because I like the show, um, and I don't want to spoil the end. So I'm not really going to say it, but the end of Adventure Space and Time is one of the most beautifully well done moments because I
it's very well
realize that
done. Yeah,
it's not William Hartnell that is in this moment on the show, but I 100% believe it is a pure, beautiful tribute to him in the way they do this. And I implore you to go watch it. My wife's not watched it yet. The kids haven't watched it yet. I've got it on DVR, and I've watched it twice, I think. I really enjoyed it. I'm really wanting them to watch it because I think they'll like it too. I think anyone who likes Doctor Who will
anybody
like it.
that's
I don't.
I would go as far as not necessarily a Doctor Who fan, but just TV production, all that. You don't have to know anything about
Oh
Doctor Who
yeah,
to just enjoy it.
yeah. It's just really well done. It's not super long. Um, it's just good. Cast really well. And again, being a Doctor Who fan, there's so much I did not realize. This show should never have made it a year, let alone 50 years. It
Yeah.
We're so lucky. We're so lucky that some people stood up and
Said no,
just
this
did
will
what they
work.
yeah, they just said we're going to put it all in line, and they did, and it worked out, and we are so lucky for it. Um well, I don't really have any questions or anything that have come in. I can't get to my email from where I'm at, so I don't know if anyone emailed anything, but
I'll check. Hang on, but I don't think there has been.
so I I guess I don't know when the next one will be. I would like to do some more stuff. I would like to do a definitely a Q&A show, or if we get enough questions in, um, or maybe go over an episode people can pick. We had voting last year, and people picked episodes for us to go back and review and kind of talk
Oh,
about.
well, I have a question on the website. Will
All
there be
right.
a 50th Christmas episode podcast?
Yes.
Probably.
Yes. We will do a 50th Christmas
Christmas
podcast,
special. Yes.
and it will be right now. Although it will probably be lost. YouTube will eat it,
In the
and we won't be
ether.
able to. Yeah.
In the new version of Google Plus Hangout and all this mess. Yeah.
Which are awesome. I wish we had some people on because we didn't really publicize that we were doing episodes. So,
No.
but people have been asking, and they will now have a supersized episode because we went a while, I think. Um, so, you got anything else for the good of the order, sir?
No.
All right.
No
Well,
music. I'm bland right now. No, I'm good.
I understand. I'm happy I made it this far
Um,
because my throat is killing me.
mine's getting there. I'm still Amy Pond still has me choked up, so I'm just kind
Oh,
of
that was it was dead silent when we watched it the first time. Dead silent when it was all over, and then my wife's the one who broke the silence and said, "Who cried?" And I just said, "There's a lot of dust in this basement." Because I'm telling you, I cried like a baby.
I know
I
some.
just couldn't.
I will say this. I know some people will probably complain because not everybody was a fan of Amy, and all that stuff. But for Matt Smith's Doctor, there was I can't see them doing it without her saying and her having the last line. Not even him.
Right.
Her
And
telling
it was such a
him
good line.
good night.
Yet
Yes.
the only person that I feel Amy is the most influential person to this doctor, and then River is number two.
Yes.
And River's a weird one because she's crossed over to two doctors as opposed to just the one. So I thought it was very fitting that Amy was there. I'm glad that it wasn't hokey, like they didn't do, because they've already done it with Tennant where he went and visited people. Matt Smith can't visit her. We've already established that in this universe. He can't go visit her.
Yeah.
So he basically had a hallucination, and
Yep.
it was perfect. I mean, it really was. I will say that until I'm proven wrong in my
Yeah,
own
and
head, but I
it was perfect to while it still wasn't the same girl, and that struck me and
right.
that stood out to me. The fact that it was that one, and as he said, that was the first face this face saw, and he said
That's
that
right.
off and on throughout. It's just they set the bar high for whenever Capaldi leaves
Yeah.
because it's yeah.
Well, I'll be honest. I think they've set the bar very high for what Capaldi has to clear, as if it wasn't high enough already. They've closed out with this monumental epic episode, and he's gonna. I mean, it's here's what made the transition to Matt Smith so easy. He was immediately fun, funny, and likable.
Hmm.
Immediately, just the whole trying the different foods and the fish sticks and custard that won you over because it was so funny. You would
And then
even
have
if
a
that
call back to that again, like he's enjoying what he was, knowing he's about to
right
change. He's like,
and won't
I've
ever
got
enjoy it
some extra
again.
time. I'm enjoying this real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, he because he once he regenerates, he may not like the taste of fish stick fingers and custard, and that's sad, but it's also true.
Do you
So
like how they? I mean, you kind of hit it, but how do you? What's your take on how they did it immediately? Like they didn't show the change. It was just like a blink, and it's
I liked it. It was jarring and weird. We already had the big like it looked like molten lava was shooting off of him whenever he was on top doing the rock star regen at the top
yeah.
of the building.
Rockstar regen. I like that. That's what it was.
Well, he
That's
was he
what
was he was he
he
was
was
ripping the
rocking.
guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was doing that. So we'd already went through a lot of that. And here's the thing: we've had all these weird different region. Like David Tennant had to sleep for a month. It felt like before he could do anything. And Matt Smith was immediately active. I think we were waiting for there to be more, and it being so quick, it was over.
Well, I
You know,
like how it was like, here, I have your heart. You're all emotional. Bam!
yeah. Here's the new guy.
Yep.
Kidneys. His first word were kidneys.
I have new
Keep.
kidneys. Okay, was the 11th Doctor a drunk that we didn't know about? What? Is there something going on?
I just don't know. Oh man, get those
Did
episodes back on.
did he eat a lot of pork and you can actually tell you have new kidneys?
I'm not sure what all he
What?
did, but it's we've got a while to wait, and I'm anxious to see what we
It
do. I mean,
is
oh, that was the one thing I wanted to
it
touch on
is
the
autumn.
50th. The there weren't a lot of spoilers for the 50th out there, and it really struck me whenever not the first time I watched it, but when we watched it in theaters, and I knew things that were happening. So many of the sets in the 50th were indoors.
Yeah.
Like he is writing this stuff he is writing it so it can be closed off and he can control who sees and who can take pictures. If you look at the Christmas episode, a lot of it is indoors or on
Yeah.
a little small town set, which I'm sure is somewhere that no one had
In
access
a
to.
yeah, it's yeah. So
It's he's being very careful as not to let things leak, and I wouldn't be shocked if we get a lot of that for this Capaldi stuff, and he doesn't want to leak. It's just
oh,
with it being autumn.
it'll be tight. I'll be although BBC's had leaks,
Yeah,
recently, which it's hard to say ever if a leak is intentional or if it's a leak's a leak.
right.
But they'll probably be close set until they want to officially reveal his look, I would think. And then it's like, okay,
Yeah,
everybody knows what he looks like. They kind of did that with when they did the new companion.
Yeah, yeah. They
So
kind of, I guess they didn't really have to, but they did. With Matt Smith, it just leaked. Like I can still see the picture in my head where he's walking. It's almost like he's walking down the
yeah,
sidewalk and talking to somebody. They're in between scenes, and you're just like, "That's what he's gonna look like. That's not what the doctor looks like. Where's his Converse?"
yeah. Well, see, I questioned leading up to the 50th why they didn't show Rose any or Billy Popper. I was like, why aren't
Mm-hmm.
they? There's something going on,
Yep.
and my theory was completely wrong. Which a part of it is still you would think the Ninth Doctor would recognize Rose,
Right.
but other than that, and then I had theories for this, which I didn't write. I asked the other day like what people thought would be because it went back to the God complex to see what he saw in that
Mm-hmm.
room. I was like, what do you all think? I had a theory that it was going to be his older self. Because what would be the one
Like it would
thing
be.
aged and everything else? Because what would be the one thing that a young, the hyper happy 11th Doctor would hate to see would be him old and
Mm-hmm.
walking with a cane and everything else. But they kept the crack and all those aspects completely secret to where no one could ever piece together what actually was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I look forward to it. I look forward to a new Doctor. I look forward to where we go from here. I'm not going to complain. I'm excited. We'll see
I'm
where it
gonna.
goes.
I'm complaining that it's going to be autumn.
I am too. That's a long way. I I'm guessing
We get 13
my
episodes in a row, but still.
yeah, my guess is that the 50th took a lot out of him, and the 50th, and then immediately rushing into the Christmas episode, probably a little quicker than he wanted to. He's pushing it to take a little more of a break because even doing those, he's coming off of Sherlock too because
Yeah.
he had to get those filmed. So I maybe that's why, and that's fine. But and it'll be here before you know it because we'll burn through summer. Winter's going to be long, but yeah, we'll get them and we'll have them and it'll be all good. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Police Box Paradox. I'm Wes.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
Mike. And you can check out the website, policeboxparadox.com. It'll get you the Twitter, Google, Plus, Facebook, and all of those things. Send us emails. Send us whatever you like. We'd like to do some more episodes. My schedule does free up a little starting in January, so maybe we can do some things in winter.
Seriously,
So,
people, quit falling in love and wanting to get married, and we can have more podcasts.
yeah, if we could have less people getting married, that would definitely free up my time.
Yeah.
Would really hurt the wallet, though. So,
I'm just
probably still
saying.
need
I
to do it.
mean,
The
not
the
everybody have
podcast
to be.
the podcast costs me money. It doesn't make me money.
Oh,
I'm
I
sorry.
know. Oh, here, a 30-second spot. Speaking of costing money, here, I'll give credit for a quote-unquote sponsor as Nerd Tags.
Sweet.
So go to nerdtags.me, go to the
Oh, nerd
website.
tags.
Yeah, Nerd
Nerd
Tags is
tags
a
are
little.
they're dope. You should go check
Yeah,
them
yeah,
out.
yeah. It's nerdtags.me, M-E. Or go to haveageekasm.com. We've got a ad there on the right-hand side. They're opening up to where you can make custom orders. So if you want some Wes Brown photography tags to tag you little whatever,
You know you want them. You
to,
know you do.
I'm upset I don't have a shirt. Um,
Got them. We got a box here somewhere. I've got to find it. You can have one Saturday.
and but go check them out. Let them know Michael said, hey, if you go. They've got some really sweet stuff. They've got a new Square store through the Square, for the iPhone, and they've got some really sweet tags on there that they're selling. So they're worth checking out for sure.
And with that, we will simply say, Raggedy Man,
Good night.
good night.